So there was this lady called Sabrina, and Sabrina was at mid 29 years, and she was a lucky woman because she found this guy, an alpha male, who was named Mark. Mark was a movie producer, and it was in London, and because of Mark being an alpha male, there was this competition with other ladies, which Sabrina found it was uncomfortable for her, where she started every time complaining of being insecurity. And one day, Mark went to her and asked her, what's wrong these days? And that's where Sabrina talked out and said that she was pregnant. Mark he was a nice guy, and he sacrificed everything, and said that because he wanted to be a responsible father, he's going to marry Sabrina. And they got married, but yet the child wasn't born, and she was pregnant. Still, Sabrina had those insecurity problems, where she was claiming Mark of sleeping with male prostitutes. And this thing went for irritating way in which Sabrina also set cameras that were CCTV to investigate that Mark was sleeping with male prostitute. This jealousy, for some time, Mark tolerated until it was over, and they chose to break up. And when they broke up, yet the child wasn't born, but Sabrina found this guy called Sam. This Sam was his past guy who they had broken up, and now they were into that off and on relationship. But because of that, Sabrina had two children of different fathers. So Sabrina made up with her boyfriend Sam, and for some time they dated, and they also lived together, where they were comfortable. And this one time, Sabrina had some complaints and wanted to hire a house help, where she hired a house help from France. Her name was Sophie. Yeah. So as they were living in this house, Sabrina still could not forget about his ex, the previous ex, the Mark. And he started plotting some stories saying that Mark was stalking her, and at some time, so Mark was also coming in with a helicopter to her place and just stalking her, which Mark did not have a helicopter. And sometimes also she said that Mark was violating her cat, where she also did not have a cat, where it also raised the alarm to Sam, where he was like, you don't have a cat, and complaining. And Sabrina faced Sam, and she was like, you are influenced with this guy. And Sam truly loved Sabrina, and he was like, okay, I'm not biased, I'm going to side with you. And this jealousy continued, and obsession to Mark, where at a place in 2015, this Sabrina started suspecting Sophie. She was sent by Mark to investigate their lives, and they started now. She started feeding her husband how Sophie was sent by Mark. And until to a point where the husband was convinced, that they started like now investigating more to Sophie. Sophie was a 20-year-old from France, and she wanted to prove to her family she could be successful and make it in this world. Now she could tolerate those all without going back to so she could not go back to her home, back to France. She had to prove to her family how she could survive in this world. And for some time, Sam and Sabrina, they tortured Sophie to making her admit that she was sent by Mark. And this torture went on from mentally torture to physical torture, where they started beating her. And this one day, uh, Sophie, thinking that she could break off from that torture, she had to admit she was being sent by Mark. And Sabrina could not let that go. She had to kill her. They went to the bathtub with her husband, filled the bathtub with water, where they both drowned Sophie in, and she died. And Sabrina left Sam to cover it up, where Sam was not that wise, where he thought to go and burn it outside and cover it up with burning some chicken, yeah, where it alerted the neighbor. And the neighbor called the police, where the police came and do some checkup, where they found a burning body. And that day in 2016, Sam and Sabrina, they were convicted first-degree murder and locked not less than minimum of 30 years in prison.